Hey, so it's finally time for art, and I'm so excited to have you here today with me. We are going to be making a project that's supposed to look like stained glass in the end. Does anyone out there attend a church that has stained glass windows? They are so beautiful, and I unfortunately do not attend a church that has stained glass windows. But did you know that stained glass is made by adding metal oxide to glass when it's liquid? So glass is made by making a bunch of different materials into liquid by melting them together. And to make it colored, they add metal oxide, which means metal that has oxygen added to it. I know. Mind blowing. Don't I breathe oxygen? I bet that's what you're thinking. Yes, you do breathe oxygen. But also, if oxygen gets on metal, then oftentimes what we think of is rust. But apparently in this whole glass making process, it will make the glass appear to be a different color. Like if you add copper oxide to the liquid glass when they're making it, it makes it into a greenish blue. Now this blows my mind because the only piece of copper I really own is a copper earring. So I have a copper earring here to show you. And if you can see it, it is a yellowish gold. I'll put it up close. A nice yellowish gold. And that is what makes the glass a blue-green. Wow, okay. So now that your mind is blown for the day, I just wanted to touch a little bit more on this stained glass thing. Did you know that back in the medieval times, stained glass was put into church windows, and it became even more popular during the Renaissance time? The Renaissance was a time on earth when art was really, really popular. And it's actually, the word Renaissance means rebirth, and they think that it may have been used as rebirth of the arts in society. Anyway, so these huge stained glass windows started to be created with scenes from the Bible in churches and monasteries, cathedrals. It was amazing to see across Europe. Stained glass unfortunately fell out of popularity, but before that time, if a church was adorned with stained glass, it was quite common, and it was absolutely beautiful. So anyways, all of this to say, one reason that the church added this stained glass to their windows is because they wanted the religious gathering place, the church or the cathedral, to be absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking. Like when you walk in, you feel like the way that church looks or that cathedral is something that is of like worshiping God. I know that's a mentality we don't usually have these days. Some people's churches look like a school, and some people's look like a gymnasium, and some even go to church in their homes these days. Sometimes people don't dress up anymore to go to church, but back in the days when they were doing these stained glass windows, they believed that your place of worship, like the place that you would go to church, the cathedral, that it should be absolutely beautiful, so that it was an act of worship just to even see that you look at how beautiful that cathedral is. You look at that beautiful stained glass art and you think, this is definitely honoring God. God even talks about creating some people with special artistic gifts in the book of Exodus because he wants them to use their gifts for the tabernacle back then. And this is just absolutely amazing to me that God has created artistic and creative gifts in some of us so that we can use them to glorify him.
In Exodus 35, we see that God has filled some people with a creative spirit. It says in Exodus 35, 31 through 32, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze. And then in Exodus 35:35, we see that God says He has filled them with skill to do all kinds of work as engravers, designers, embroiderers in blue and purple and scarlet yarn and fine linen, and weavers, all of them skilled workers and designers. So we see that God really has called some of us to work in the creative skills. And the amazing thing here is that in this Exodus passage, God is talking about people to decorate the tabernacle. And how awesome is it that in Exodus 35 we see the tabernacle decorated, and stained glass was used to later decorate churches throughout Europe.
How incredible! So we get that chance today with our artwork to glorify Him in making an absolutely amazing, beautiful piece of art. So I hope you enjoy today's art project.
For this art project, you will need a copy of the cross paper that I have provided to you. There's also a copy of it in the description below. You will need some kind of bright markers. I suggest permanent markers, but you could also use washable markers. And last, you will need a ruler. Before we get started, let me make a few recommendations. I would suggest having something to cover your work surface, because if you use permanent markers, like I suggest in this video, then your permanent markers often bleed through to the table, so cover your work surface. Secondly, make sure to put on a smock or an old shirt or an apron if you are using the permanent markers. The reason I suggest using permanent markers is they create more of a vibrant color that will fully cover the white of the paper. Washable markers oftentimes do not cover the white of the paper as fully, so it will not look as vibrant or as filled in the end. Step 1. Use a black marker to make lines all around the cross, keeping it within the rectangle border around the edge. You can do any design you would like. You can add as many lines as you would like, but do keep in mind that the more lines you add, the more spaces you will have to color. And if the spaces are really small, it may be difficult to color. Once you add the lines, you can then trace over the gray cross, add lines within the gray cross itself, and trace over the borders so that it looks cohesive throughout your entire piece. Step 2. Use colorful markers to color in the different sections of your stained glass. You want to take your time and color neat. Make sure to color all the white of the paper. If white shows through, it doesn't look as nice. Fortunately, if you are using the permanent markers, coloring in one direction is not as important because usually you can't see your individual strokes. If you're using the washable markers though, you should try to color in one direction because you will still be able to see your strokes. You may use whatever colors you want, wherever you want them. And when you're finished coloring, you have finished your art project. Isn't that awesome? And that's it. I hope you enjoyed creating this with me today, and I look forward to doing more art with you in the future.